Hello everybody, my name is Natasha, and tonight I decided I'm going to share with you my experience with getting a hair transplant in Turkey, my recovery process, and why I needed a hair transplant in the first place. So here in my iPad I have 20 questions which will explain my experience, and we're going to get into it. So the first question: what made you decide to get a hair transplant in the first place? Well, when I was 14, a relative had to keep me and my siblings temporarily because my mother was going through an illness. And during that time, my cousin, which is my dad's first cousin, was very upset with me. And her way of disciplining me was dragging me by my hair like a mop on the floor. And that particular day, I had micro braids in my hair. And those micro braids all were snatched out all along my hairline, literally leaving the braids starting right here. So from the time I was 14 up until now, I've lived with alopecia. So I decided to get a hair transplant because I was tired of hiding behind the trauma of her pulling out my hair and not being able to 100% accept myself because I was bald. Question number 2. When did you first start noticing hair loss? I noticed it the same day. She snatched my edges out from my braids. So I noticed it immediately. However, I never knew I could do anything about it from the time I was 14 up until now, other than hide it under weave. So I basically had to hide my whole life because I was too embarrassed and too ashamed to show my hairline because it was receding all the way into the middle of my head. Next question. Question number 3. What type of hair loss were you dealing with? Receding hairline, crown thinning, or overall thinning? I was dealing with receding hairline. As I said before, my hairline started way back here. Question number 4. How many grafts did you get in total? I got 4,000 grafts. Question number 5. What technique did the clinic use? FUE, DHI, or FUT? I got the FUE method, where they poke individual holes in your hairline and pluck the follicle from those holes and then insert them one by one. Next question. How much did the entire procedure cost? I paid $2,600. That is not including the hotel. I decided to cover my hotel expenses on my own. Next question. What clinic did you go to and why did you choose them? I went to Heva Clinic. I initially seen Heva Clinic on TikTok. Then I started following them on Instagram. And I chose Heva Clinic because they specialize in ethnic hair texture or ethnic hair transplants. And when you go on their page, you see so many black people, which made me feel like they were more credible. Next question. Did you get a consultation beforehand and what did they tell you? So, initially, my first point of contact with Heva Clinic was through WhatsApp. They asked me to send pictures of my hair, which is the assistant, and the assistant sends the pictures to the doctor. And then they were able to tell me if I was eligible for hair transplant or not, and then they gave me an idea of what it would look like. It's just an estimate because I never got to talk to the doctor beforehand. I only got to talk to the assistant. I didn't have my consultation until I got to Turkey, and then I was expected to pay right before I walked into the room for the consultation. They asked me for my money, and then I got to talk to the doctor. Next question. How long did the procedure take from start to finish? So that procedure took like 10 hours. Like, I went in the morning and they weren't done until like 10 o'clock at night. Next question. Number 10. Was the procedure painful at any point? So, yes, that shit was fucking painful as fuck. And I'm going to tell you why. I can say yes and no. Okay? So, the most painful part is that they have to stick like 60 needles in your head to numb your head. And the needles are sharp like this. So imagine them sticking you with 60 needles in the front and the back of your head to numb your head. It feels like somebody's stabbing you in the head. And when the anesthesia goes in, or the lidocaine, feel like a bee stinging you on your scalp. And that is the most painful part. But once your head is numb, you don't feel nothing. You don't feel the transplanted hair. You don't feel any tension on your head. The most painful part is the numbing. Okay. Next question. What was the recovery like during the first 48 hours? So the first day after that 10 hours in the clinic, they send you back to your hotel. They put bandages on your head because your head is going to be leaking blood, literally. And they give you this neck pillow similar to this one, except for it's disposable. And you have to sleep upright, just like this. You can't sleep on your stomach or on your side because during that time, the follicles are still fresh and you don't want to do anything to jeopardize any follicles falling out. So, yeah, the first day they send you home with a disposable neck pillow. You have to sleep upright and you have bandages on your head because blood is draining. And also the blood will be draining on your pillow and on your sheets as well. The next day you go to the clinic and you get your hair washed. They wash it for you and then they give you the soap and the foam you're going to need. And then after that, you're free to go home. But I wasn't free to go home because I had a nose job 2 days later. So I ended up being there for 14 days. Next question. How long did it take before you could go back to work or social life? I went back to work 2 weeks later, but you can go back to work within a week. It's a minimum downtime procedure. Next question, number 13. Did you experience swelling, scabbing, or shedding? Yes. My head was blown up like a balloon. The scabbing happens within the first 2 to 3 days. And me, I'm the type to pick bumps on my face, so I was scratching all those scabs off. They told me don't touch them, that I was supposed to let them fall off within the first 5 days, but I couldn't take it. It was itching. So as soon as the scabs fall off, then you can see the hairs coming through, the new follicles. And then after that, you go through a period called shock loss. Shock loss is when your new hair follicles grow in and then those hairs fall out, literally fall out, so that your new transplanted follicles can grow new hairs. So it's basically the follicle they took is attached to the piece of hair from back there. But they mainly just want the follicle, but they implant it with that piece of hair. And eventually when it starts going through shock loss, that piece of hair that came from back there with attached to that follicle falls out and the new hair grows through that follicle. So, next question, number 14. How long until you notice new growth? I noticed new growth within 2 weeks. I started to see little studs coming through my scalp, mainly in the back of my hair, and in the front, it was like scattered. Like, I was scared for a minute. Next question, number 15. How long did you have to take the medication, and did you take finasteride or minoxidil? So the medication for my hair transplant, I only took that for about 3 or 4 days. After that, I feel like I didn't need it anymore. And as far as finasteride or minoxidil, I do have minoxidil right now. Look, that's that. Stuff is falling down out that cabinet. Here's the minoxidil that I have. It is the Walgreens brand. Question number 16. How natural does the new hairline look up close? I mean, y'all see it, right? You see it? If you've been following my journey, you see it. You tell me. Next question. Question number 17. Are you happy with the density so far? Yes, I am extremely happy with the density. I didn't have high hopes to begin with, but they definitely exceeded my expectation because I naturally have thin hair. And as you can see, I'm wearing a half wig. And even then, it's still covering and blending in perfectly with my half wig, which has allowed me to do more versatile hairstyles because of the way that they implanted my hair transplant. Next question, question number 18. Would you get a second hair transplant if needed? Hell motherfucking no. I don't never want to do that shit again. Never. I'd rather die than to do that again because those needles that they use to stab you in your motherfucking head like this feel like somebody trying to kill me. Like really trying to kill me. Like really trying to stab me in my head. I did not want to experience that again. Question number 19. What's one thing you wish you knew before getting it done? One thing I wish I knew was that I could be sedated. I didn't find out until the day of, and it was, I believe, an extra $300. I had the extra $300, but I definitely didn't want to spend it on that because I wanted to spend my money on other stuff in Turkey, and I had budgeted my trip out. And don't forget, when you come back home, you still got to live. You still got to have a life. So if I knew beforehand, I would have put that in my budget for my trip. And that's the only thing I wish I knew because when you're sedated, you don't feel that pain of them injecting them 50, 60 needles of lidocaine in your head while you're getting your hair transplanted. So if you're going to go to Turkey, make sure you budget another $300 or $400, depending on the clinic, to get sedated. That way you don't have to go through that pain of them injecting the lidocaine in your head to numb your head before the transplant. Last question, question number 20. Would you recommend a hair transplant to others considering it, and why? Yes, I would absolutely recommend a hair transplant to others considering it, because it 100% restored my confidence in myself. I'm able to wear hairstyles I never imagined that I would be able to wear, because I never had any fucking hair here. It was bald, and I also live with the pain and regret of the child abuse of that relative pulling my micro braids out along with my hair follicles and having to have a receding hairline for 14 years. I lived like that for 14 years, hiding under wigs. Now, lace wigs are no longer a necessity. They're an option. Not that I have anything against lace wigs now, because they helped me get through those 14 years. However, now I can wear hairstyles that complement me, like half wigs that expose my natural hairline and that complement me and allow me to show up as my most confident self. And so to answer the question, yes, I would recommend anybody who's experiencing hair loss and that has the hair in the back to implant in the front for a transplant, to get the hair transplant. I promise you won't regret it, except for them stabbing you in the head with all those needles. Get the sedation. But I promise you won't regret it. And I promise you that you'll be extremely happy with your hairline and extremely happy with yourself. I never felt more beautiful being able to see my hair grow, having a hairline, having hair, period, and my hairline not receding to the middle of my head anymore. Thank you, Heva Clinic, for this experience. Thank you for restarting a new chapter in my life. And thank you for letting me draw on my hairline, because I know everybody didn't have that experience. And I was able to draw exactly where I wanted my hairline to start, here. And then I draw like a curve like here. And they gave me exactly what I wanted. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. And if there's any questions I missed, let me know and I will try to respond to them. Thank you for watching.